Here we go. Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Jacob back. So Jacob, welcome back, dude.
Hi, good to see you again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Can you please let everyone know what your type is again?
So I'm a ENTP jumper, FF, NEFE, play, consume, sleep, blast. Unofficially a social type 3. I self-typed on that.
Okay, cool. I think for most people they can see their social type, so I'm not too concerned, but we will definitely discuss it
Yeah.
during our follow-up interview here. Let's start first with your first and animal, not first animal, but the last animal, but we'll discuss it first. So your last animal is Blast, and it's SF Blast last, and it's also double feminine. So it's not just your last animal, it's also like the hardest version of it, being
hmm
the double feminine in flavor. You have mentioned to me that you've been practicing your SI over the years, and I want to hear what your progress has been like since our first interview.
Well, my first interview was 3 years ago, so it's been a 3-year gap. I've definitely worked a lot of my career since then. I feel like I got to really put in the sleep effort in that. I still think I am terrible at Blast. I'm awful at Blast. I have not made too much progress with Blast, but I feel like my sleep has been getting really, really good. Um, my problem with Blast, I can do it in a work setting. Like if there's a clear goal or like a clear objective, I can blast or I can communicate for the sake of work. But if it's for my own thing or like getting things going, social stuff, if it's not clear, I'm just not doing it. I'm just in my mope or skib mode.
So let's look at the different aspects of Blast, and I want to hear how you rank yourself on each of those aspects, okay? Let's start
Okay.
with the more basic one, just getting started and getting things done. How
One
is
to
that for you?
five, 1 to 10, or just
Let's
general?
go with 1 to 10.
1 to 10, getting started.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say 4. It's more of a I'll think about it for a really long time, and when I feel the timing's right, I'll go all in.
Oh, I see. I see. Kind of like that typical Blast last.
Yeah, I
Taking
gotta
time.
consume the idea for a long time, and then when I feel like I can get there, I can do it more efficiently.
I see. And what about the act of organizing your thoughts and communicating it to people? That's part of the Blast, right?
It is. I feel like I have to mope for a really long time. What I've been doing for the past couple years is I use the Messenger app as my to-do list. The moment I feel like I have something that I have to put on my to-do list or I feel that's important to me, I put it on the app or I just message myself. So I have this long list of years of unsent message, unsent message, unsent message. That's me like with my sleep checklist of, oh, I accomplished something. And it's just this long list of that. Um, I channel changed. What was the original question?
Yeah, no, we were just looking at the different dimensions of
Uh,
that SF Blast. So for that aspect, it's organizing your thoughts and
yeah. So
keeping the
I've been
sleep
using
journey.
that to organize my thoughts, and get things started and get things done, things that are important to me. But it's not really the blast aspect of it. It's more of the sleep SI aspect with organizing my thoughts to communicate it to others. For example, for this interview, I was just moping on my functions, but I guess if we're gonna focus more on social type, hopefully I am a 3. I'm very confident I'm a 3.
Gotcha. So would you say when you're communicating with people that you're blasting to them, or you're still just using play for the most part?
I'm using play. I'm trying to ping off of what their agenda is or goals. I know this interview is focused on OP and the aspects of the animals and I guess right now social types.
Right. And it's about you also, your journey.
What
So
about me?
yeah.
Yeah.
So part of that SF Blast is the SF Blast itself, which is kind of making sure that either people are behaving appropriately in the appropriate situation. Now, yours is not going to be aggressive. Yours is going to be like the most friendliest version of it. But does it
hmm
ever come out? Do you ever have to tell like a friend or coworker or family member that, hey, you know what? your behavior is not
Uh,
appropriate for the situation.
I'm awful at that. I am terrible, terrible at that. For example, I work in the hospital. I work in dialysis. And if I do hemodialysis on a patient, I'm not supposed to allow family members to be in the room. And I think you froze. I'm not allowed to have family members in the room. But of course, they want to be there. I don't know how long they're going to end up. They're going to have to end up in the break room for hours at a time. I don't know if they're like commuting from far away. And I just allow them to be in the room unless I get yelled up at upper management. So unless they're super disruptful, I can't do it. I'm just like, you can't get out. And another example, my dog. I keep telling my wife I'm gonna be terrible with the kids when it comes to like setting them in line because my dog just knows how to take advantage of me, and he's a dang dog. I can't put him
Oh,
in line either.
oh my God. So I guess
Spoiled that dog.
trying to correct people's behavior is not your strong suit. So you're gonna have to rely on your wife for that.
I Yeah, to like force him in line, I'll probably have to. I can like tell values, but I can't force values. I'm like, this is the better value, but I can't force it on people, which is, I guess, a problem as far as when that needs to be done.
I mean, it's double feminine, so it's not gonna be aggressive at all, but you can't like give them a small like hint, or is that something that still a trouble for you to drop some hints?
Sometimes I can play the guilt trip game, but then I'm pinging off if is it coming off too aggressive.
I see. I see. So it depends how far you've been pushed. And even
Yeah.
then, it's still like very soft.
I have to know the person I'm dealing with.
I see. So
I'll break
if
the
there's no
step with it.
rapport, you can't do it then.
Yeah,
But not even your dog who you have rapport with.
exactly. The dying dog won't listen to me no more. That's my fault.
That's funny. And then what about the last part of the SF part, which is the SF itself? Like the cool popular thing. Like, do you respect the SF? Having it to
No, I'm terrible with the SF. I'm behind. I'm always behind. I don't fixate on like physical objects or buying physical things. I'm really bad with SF. Uh, Feeling in general. Like I can NF play, but if it's like my FI is like non-existent, my blast is very poor. Popularity just doesn't interest me. It's not good.
So that's interesting because you are Savior Flex if you are indeed a number three. So then wouldn't you
Yes.
care a little bit more about the SF? Because then that's part of getting the attention, right?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like there's the flex, but it's me more competing against myself and secretly competing against others. Like I have people in my head where I'm competing against them, but they don't know I'm competing against them. It's like a secret competition with me. I, and I think early on you have the values of being told, hey, bragging's not good, being prideful's not good. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna subdue that characteristic because I'm still Savior FE, and that kind of corresponds to like friends behavior. But I really think I have an ego. I just don't like showing people unless they really get to know me, which is even then I like don't like to flaunt my ego, but I constantly want to brag if I'm being honest.
That's funny. It's interesting because you have TI, which is the more egotistical of the functions,
Mm,
because TI demands respect, or
mm.
wants respect. So it's gonna be more on the ego side. So would you say you are a number three because of the specialization, or are you a number three, or would you say you have a big ego because you have TI, masculine TI?
Well, when I very first typed, I thought I was TINI, lead sleep, and I was correct with the blast blast. I was correct with the FF. So it was really close to what I could have been. But social types didn't exist then. Jumper types were very new when I was first getting into OP in 2018. So I really thought me being lead sleep, looking back on it, I think this social three was a big part of that, and the double activated masculine TI. So in the end, I still have to default to my savior FE because it's my savior, but the masculine TI the doubles decider aspect, the social three, all of that's like running in the background of the savior FE. So it's like a tip of an iceberg. The top of the iceberg is the savior FE, but underneath it is just that huge TI and social three behind what's on the surface showing.
So your animal stack and your social type is in complete cognitive dissonance because they have
Yes.
nothing, you have no savior animals correlated with your savior socials and vice versa. So
I
how
love
do
how
you
you brought
how are
that
you
up.
living your life?
Um, so yeah, I would say, especially in my early life, like high school and college, I was really riding on that savior play, that savior and NEFE. Um, but it wasn't until like when I started working that the specialized and the mope really came out. Because when I started working, it became a big routine of just nonstop work. I was like working 60 hours a week or more. My job itself is just super duper routine. Um, what's it called? And so I've been in the same field for 6.5 years. That's how long I've been working. I've only ever worked in the same field always. I can totally see myself doing it for the next 35 years. Um, it's not that I wanted to do what I did, and I did end up following the tribe into it. Um, and what's it called? I ended up following my tribe into it. It's something that's needed by society, which I wanted to get to with the whole. I don't know if it's my saviors or specialized, but I guess it's not specialized. But I always felt the need that whatever job I did, it needed to be essential to society. So when COVID came along and everyone was like forced out of work and I was forced overtime, I was like, okay, I feel fulfilled in the aspect that my job is essential to society.
Oh, I see. You're a nurse, right? Is that correct?
I am a nurse, but being more specific, I specialize in dialysis, which is a very niche field. It takes a little bit more time to get into, um, get the skill set, and if you want to be in the hospital, you should get experience in the outpatient, the clinics. So we're always in need of staff because people can't just jump into it, unlike some of the other nursing fields.
Right. So I guess you are a specialist in that realm for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever entertained that you could be a four instead? I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, have
No,
you entertained that idea?
I definitely entertain the idea, and we were talking about it earlier. A lot of people that know me, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely an extrovert," or the people who are in OP, they're like, "I think you're more of a four," and I'm just like, "Of course you would think that because you're around me when I'm in my savior state, but most of the time I'm not with other people. I'm just in my head. I'm open. Yeah, I'm savior play, but I'm still like always circulating the idea in my head over and over. I don't know if it's like it's not I wouldn't call it a demon state, my sleep, but it's just I'm consume sleep, consume sleep, consume sleep. Oh, hey people, I'm gonna go full on play mode.
So if you are number three, that means you have demon friends.
Yeah,
But you strike me as someone that has friends. Like you're not someone that doesn't have any friends.
right. So here's the interesting thing with that. I don't think I have ever made a friend in my life without being introduced or having something in a shared situation. And what I mean by that is if I make a friend, it's because, oh, we were in the same class, I was alone. I only became friends with that person because we're in the forced situation of being in the same class. Um, and from that point on, my future friends were introduced from my existing friends. Oh, I have these friends from church. I was in the forced situation of I'm growing up with these people. It's a very small social group. The people I met after that were through those people who I know. But if I'm going to go out of my way to meet someone on my own, it's like practically impossible. Um, I noticed my like coworkers, if I was like training someone, they're like easily talking to all the other people in the hospital. and I'm just like not talking to other people. I'm waiting for them to talk to me. I never go out of my way to make friends or like invite out of the way. Um, and earlier in life, like college, high school, I wanted to live without regret. So what I mean by that is every time people would invite, and I guess I was always new into opportunities of, any try new things.
Yeah.
Every time I was invited to do something, I would, what's it called? I would always say yes. I'd be like, I'd regret saying no, like if I just stayed home all day, every day, which is
Yeah.
what I'm doing now. But um, back then, I'd be like, okay, this is just like a limited time in my life. Later on in life, I'm probably going to be working all the time. And I was right. I'm just working all the time. Um, so I would always take invites. I meet other people through the people I know, but meeting other people on my own is really hard. In the OP community, if I ever did talk to someone, it was with the agenda of, hey, our types kind of correspond in this way. What do you think of your animals in this aspect or that aspect? There was like really a super consume motivation of I'm trying to understand this thing. But even beyond that, it's like it's not like we had a deeper relationship or bond.
I don't know if that explains social type 3, just because the stuff that you're explaining right now
I'm
sounds
not
no, I'm just saying it sounds kind of normal in terms of like how people meet in general.
true, but I think the
And
demon friend,
you're technically an introvert also.
yes, I am an introvert, but I mean, I'm gonna like we're talking about demon friends,
Sure.
and I think really going out of my way to make friends is not a priority at the same time. Like I'd rather have the quality over quantity. And just having shallow relationships doesn't really interest me. There's too many people to be friends with all the people.
Yeah, but save your friends people don't go out of their way to make friends. Like, you know,
Eh,
it depends on the person, I think, because I'm play blast and I don't do that.
all right.
I don't want to meet new people unless I have to, it sounds kind of tedious in my opinion.
I can continue to entertain that I'm savior friends. I'm definitely not a two. I'm definitely not a one.
Okay.
But
I'm not saying you're a four. I'm just kind
yeah,
of throwing things out.
yeah. But what do the four and three have in common? They have savior
They're both specialists. So
specialists. There we
yeah,
go.
yeah, they're both specialists. So in your case, it wouldn't change anything because you'd still be a specialist at the end of the day, right? The
Right,
only difference is, are you friends or are you flex? So
right.
one or the other, right? Like, do you have let's look at cross checks for number three then.
Okay.
So um, one of the cross checks for number three is missing that broad responsibility coin because the number ones
Oh,
so
I hate responsibility.
I know the number fours also have demon responsibility, but it's not missing. Like that's like the
Right,
key
right.
the key word is like not missing responsibility. So they'll still try to do like a broad responsibility with their life, so like their life's not falling apart because they just specialize in this one thing. Like I noticed with a lot of number threes, they're so good at one area, but the rest of their life is kind of like in shambles, you know. Um, so how are you with that? Like, do you take a little bit broader responsibility? Like you work out, take care of
Yeah.
your
I
yeah.
feel like I've always had a holistic approach to life. I feel like I had a good education growing up, and I think being a skib, being an NE, OE, um, I think that alone will broaden things. So we were talking about it, the whole cognitive deficit, blah blah. You know what I meant? uh,
Last right there.
last right there. Um, yeah. So if I'm a three, and that's kind of most correlated to blessed, and I'm a skib,
Right.
um, in the end, I'm still consuming, I'm skibbing, I'm kind of broadening my horizons, even though I want to specialize in just one thing. So it's always in the back of my head that I want to do this one thing. Um, like with habits, I can maintain a habit great for 1 month. That's usually my limit. I'll like be really routine about this one thing for 1 month. And then by the end of the month, I have to like shake things up. Like I don't have to remove the habit completely, but I have to shake it up somehow.
Right.
whether it be like a workout or an brain exercise or something, I gotta shake it up, or like a new change up my game or whatever. Um, so talking about social, what was the original question?
It's all good, man. Feminine sensory, right?
Yeah,
No, we're just doing a little bit of cross-checking with social type 3 and 4 because they're pretty similar in the sense that they both share the specialization coin. And
right,
so regardless if you were one or the other, you would still be a specialist. So we're kind of like looking at the other parts of the threes and the fours, like what they don't have in common. So
right,
uh
right,
threes, for example, is missing that broad responsibility coin, but fours, they have it activated. It's like in a hobby position.
right.
And you said that you are you do have consume savior, so it's allowing you
That's
to
where I was going.
gather.
So
Yeah,
the cognitive, because I can't pronounce the dang word, the
cognitive
cognitive
dissonance, dissonance.
dissonance. Yeah. So in theory, if you look at my type, I feel really well rounded and well balanced, and I think maybe the OIs would struggle more of like broadening their horizons or like adding things to their experience or routine. So I feel like I get wider coverage just from being a skib. So even though I'm not a two, I'm still like looking to other areas of my life that I'm lacking, uh, health, relationships, career, finances. Um, I do try to like master each of those and being responsible for each, but I think that's more of it's feeding my consume more than anything else. Um, so the social three, um, example, I always have like a mini goal in the back of my head. I think as an NE, I'm constantly living the future. I suffer with the SI. So if there's anything in my type that's not balanced, it's going to be that SI last, because
Right.
of everything I can balance. I have a great double decider balance. I have the double activated TI, even though it's demon, it's masculine. Um, if I'm a three, it's somewhat balancing out the blast. But what's really, really suffering is that feminine SI at the bottom is just really, really bad. And I try to compensate with that, but I think my compensation is more on building my sleep. Doesn't mean I'm great at the blast yet. I feel like that's my next 10 years is maybe working more on the blast instead of the sleep.
Right. Yeah, when I got officially typed for my social type, I got a audio from Dave and he's pretty much said, your last animal is still the biggest problem. It's not your socials. A lot of
Yeah.
people, because it's like a new kid on the block, the social type, everyone's excited
Right.
about it. Now they're like everyone's like hyper obsessed with it and like thinking like it's like the thing, but it's not the main problem still. It's still your last animal. So for you, it's still blast. For me, it's still my sleep. And SI still for us. It's not never gonna change. The social type is just kind of like gives you a good guideline where your career should be going, but
Mhm.
ultimately, most of your problems will still be explained by that last animal and the fourth function at the
Mhm.
bottom there. Um, have you thought about getting your official typing for your social type?
Not really, because I just don't feel like it's worth it,
Yeah,
because I don't know how much you have to pay or the process. I don't want to waste their time just to say, hey, you're a three. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm a three. I knew it. But I mean, I get it. I mean, my wife the past 6 years was super against getting her official type, and I was like we were talking about it earlier. I was hoping she'd be officially typed so I can cross-examine some of my life aspects.
yeah,
But I think she's a two, possibly a four. And amongst her being the EJ and probably consume last, we'll wait, I guess, the 4 or 5 weeks to get an official type. But I do think me being in a relationship with her has helped me see, oh, I have to improve my blast in this way because that's how she's doing it. I can't just rely on her on that. I gotta skip my way into learning blast.
right. Fair enough. Well, I think with the social type, I think the typing system has changed. You got typed like long time ago, right? So did I.
Yeah, Very
And
beginning.
and the process right now is actually a lot better. They have an area now where you can put supporting documents, which is really good.
Yeah,
So
my wife did it, so I got to get the idea.
yeah, it's really good. And then they do examine those supporting documents. Um, because when I got my official social typing, they thought I was a 4 or 2 for the longest time. They didn't know which one, and then they was telling people in the community I was a 4, you know, and yeah. So for me, I was thinking, I was like, oh geez, like that doesn't the 4 doesn't feel right. There's something off about it.
Right.
It doesn't. I can't specialize for to save my life, you know. So
Mhm.
um so I send them all the documents in and with like so much, and the supporting document is actually what got me narrowed in. They're like, oh yeah, because one of my point was like, I'm not missing flex. I have it third, and I feel like I have it third, and I feel like I have it in a hobby position. Like I travel a lot, right? So that's my flex. Like I tell
Right.
people, oh yeah, I've been to 100 countries. That's my I'll drop it and then get out. And then Dave said, oh yeah, that's like a chill flex. Drop, get out. It's not like, oh, you flex so much that you become cringe, right? You know.
Mhm.
Um, and then he said, oh yeah, you do have your number 2 scams. It's just like you're blowing them up. That's what he said to me.
Right.
But it looks like you are trying and you are doing all that stuff. So I thought it was really good. And then they also sent like an audio, obviously. So I thought it was like really good. To get that like feedback. I'm not selling you the idea, by the way. You just do whatever you want. I'm just saying, just
I
think.
don't know. I do feel like if I had any animal, I mean, social last to be two though. Just the feeling.
So with the 2,
Two
then I
last.
guess.
I have a copy of the document, but
Sure.
no. I mean, you talk to you while I look at it.
What are you looking at right now? The typing screen?
Which one would have the social document? Which one has three last? And that's the twos. Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
threes have two last because they're opposite. Yeah.
Right, right. I think one of the best way. I mean, I have FI, so I want to hear how you process it yourself. Okay, so I have a little bit of a cognitive dissonance because
Mhm.
I am Savior Play, so that correlates with friends. So perfect match, sweet, right? I look like a 4
Yeah.
because Play Blast Consume Sleep is a straight flush number 4,
Just
right?
straight up. It is
Yeah,
that is a straight flush.
yeah,
That's a great
but then I feel cognitive dissonance. Like I'm like this does I feel something's off,
Mhm.
like something doesn't feel right. And then I have Blast Savior, which is which activates the 3, and then
Mhm.
so I'm doing some specialization kind of work,
Mhm.
and I'm okay at it because I'm blasting, but I hate it. I hate it so much. You know
I
what I
feel
mean?
like cognitive dissonance is kind of like double observing or double deciding.
Yes.
It helps balance a type, and it's nice for those who can go all in on something, but I guess they're not as well rounded as other people in more areas of life because of that.
Oh, dude, I think the feeling behind it is really, for us we have SI in the bottom, right? And then every time we
Right.
have to use SI, it's like the most painful thing in the world, right? It's like so painful. So I think your fourth social type has the same feeling as the fourth function. Like if you have to do that fourth
Mm-hmm.
thing, in your case, generalization. For me, it's specialization. Like,
Right.
yes, of course you can do it because you're an adult and
Yeah.
we have to do
Just like,
everything.
gotta get it done, gotta go through the process.
Yeah, but then the whole time you're doing it, you're like you feel triggered in some
Mhm.
way because you have consume savior double activated, which means you're double activated generalist.
Mhm.
So then you're getting so every time you're pressing it, you're like triggered, 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 right? So um
Sounds about right.
yeah. But then again, you being a specialist also forces you to use your SI, which again triggered, triggered, triggered. So then you have
Mhm.
so many triggers going on. I'm surprised you're not going crazy yet.
I feel like I have undiagnosed OCD sometimes. I'm like, it's managed, but uh back in college, I noticed I was getting into this whole repetitive behavior thing. I'd have to do the same thing like three times over, four times over before. And that's usually the age it starts before like saying, okay, this is good, this is right, I can let it go. When I notice that behavior, I'm like, okay, no matter how uncomfortable I feel, because this could develop into something bad, I have to let it go after the first try. Like I'd have to clean out my bag like three or four times just to know it's like empty.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I know it's empty. I'm stopping my brain. I'm not going to let this develop. So I did have like certain stressful points in my life, but then I kind of brought that into my career of like everything has to have a place, everything has to be set in motion. I have to prevent any like negative possibility because it's like healthcare.
Right.
Um, and if I'm going into like the whole specialized thing, um, I've spent way too much time on video games, and um, min-maxing is a good hobby of mine. If for those who don't know what min-maxing is, it's like making your character in the video game like as efficient as possible, like everything is the best it can possibly be. I don't know if that's like a perfectionist kind of thing or a specialized kind of thing, but I always like have, if I start a video game, for example, I have like a pre-goal before even starting the game of this is what I want to do, and then I'll like have the enjoyment of getting that process. In work, I like identified, oh, there's like three types of efficiency in life. Um, One is time efficiency, getting things done as fast as possible. Then there's resource efficiency, which is spending as little resources as possible. And then movement efficiency, which is moving as little as possible. And if you want to accomplish the most in life, it's finding like the balance of those three things. And it's going to vary between what's people's priorities and what's the long-term goal. So I feel like in Specialized, I took that idea that I developed from work in video games of, all right, whatever I'm doing, I will take that core principle and just apply that to what I'm doing. I think in my early life, I don't know if you played like Maple Story or RuneScape. Those are very grind intensive games where you have to repeat a process for a long extended amount of time. And I feel like that's very SI oriented. And I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I think that really like served my sleep of doing something repeatedly for a long time to achieve a result. It's like a discipline at one point. And that goes with like diet and exercise. And for my job, which is very routine, I've been doing it for 6.5 years. I expect to do it for 35 more years. Um, I don't love my job because ideally it wouldn't exist. The whole kidney failure thing wouldn't exist, but it's essential and needed. So I do have a value of that. And I'm okay with specializing in it and learning the variations of it and teaching when I have to. I feel like I channel changed hard there. I don't know.
No, it's okay. I think you were bringing some supporting documents to your point.
There you go.
If I were to be positive, um, I think I have a few comments. So first of all, I think the OCD thing is good when you are in the medical field because obviously you want your nurse or medical staff to be double checking over and over again to make sure everything's accurate. So I don't think it's a bad thing to channel your OCD there. I can relate to your OCD about cleaning your bag 3 times. I think it might be SI related because for me I used to lose my keys all the time, so I'm always checking my pocket nonstop. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it could be like an SI thing. It's like the SI is so small on the bottom, so you're like I don't know if the physical is still here.
Yeah.
And SI people are also clean freaks a little bit, so it's like that aspect also.
Mm.
Um, and then the video game thing that you said, I used to play Final Fantasy 14, 11 long time
Yeah.
ago, and it's very grind intensive, so I get where you're coming from. And obviously you want to specialize, make your character the best possible, which I
Mm.
did. But I think ultimately the generalist is where I thrive because every time I play a game, I always end up being the guild leader. Always. I have no intention and it just like
All
happens. Because like I think for me, I'm always thinking like, oh, there's you got an SF blast up.
Let me just throw him in the bedroom.
Okay.
My wife got home from work, so he got out of the room.
Oh. um yeah, so I think I can see where you're coming from with the specialist thing. I guess when you play video games, you play with a walkthrough to make sure you're not missing anything. Like everything's
Oh, I don't even do the walkthrough. I do this thing. I think it's Blast Last mostly, but I can't go on in a game or things on a hype. Example, a new game comes out, it's hyping.
Yeah.
I usually end up playing that game months, if not years later, because by then there's like some sort of meta established. um I guess I'm blast lasting, like I'm just getting the feel of, do I really want to play this game? What do I want to do in this game? I guess as a hobby, I like look into like multiple games just to consume it without actually playing it. But then when I start playing it, I usually finish it faster than the average time to finish the game, or I have a very specific goal before starting the game. And then I reach that goal, then I move on to the next thing. So I guess it like serves my consume, but at the same time, I want to be efficient and what's it called, any experience as many things as possible. So you can't fixate on one game too long unless you like really dwell on some sort of goal that's like long term. And MMOs do that a lot, where you have like 200 hours just to get your character you want or you want them to be.
Right, right. Yeah. MMOs are trap, you
It,
know.
it, it is a trap, but I think the social aspects there where you can compare yourself to others, but then with my personality, I lose the value of experiencing it with others, the whole multiplayer aspect. And back then, when I used to LAN a lot, I lived in the Philippines and we had internet cafes. My play would thrive in those environments, but then like now it's just I'm moping around, not playing multiplayer games. I'm playing solo multiplayer games solo. It's just like,
Yeah, it's not the same without people around you, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have FE, but I get what you're saying. It is a different vibe for sure. It's
Mhm.
more fun when there's people around you. I think what I like about those multiplayer games is if there's a game that you can be clutch. That's my favorite,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? Because like I want to show people the difference when you're playing with someone that is good versus someone that is just average, you know. I'm not trying this is like a little bit my flex here because like I play a lot of video games and I'm pretty good at video games. And
yeah.
so like I
Just keep talking, guys.
there's no moment that I love more than like, in let's say MMO, there's like but the whole team is dead. I'm the only one left and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
beat the boss somehow, you
The
know.
clutch moment.
Yeah, clutch moment, yeah. Or like I'm playing like a top-down kind of like game, like let's say four players or something, couch co-op, and then my friends are all dead, and like I have to kill all the enemies and then resurrect everyone. It's like so
Like
I
they
live for
relied on you.
yeah, those clutch
You
moments.
are the man.
Exactly, exactly. I live for those clutch moments. That is like what I love for multiplayer. For single player, it's a little bit different. I play for storyline because I have FI. So I'm guessing
Right.
for you have TI. You're playing for the challenge of it. Is that right?
Yeah, it's usually the challenge of it. I do like example Baldur's Gate came out and then they had the honor mode where you have to do a deathless run, or not, your whole party can't wipe, and it's like increased difficulty, and I'm like, yes, I thrive for the challenge. Or in Diablo 3, I did the, what's it called? The hardcore run where you have to go through the whole game deathless.
Oh
Uh
yeah, that's
I
fun.
did like the challenge of that. Um, and that was more of me competing against myself than other people, and then just having the pride of, oh, in the gamer world, like I have like they're I don't like saying they're fake accomplishments, but you do have that feeling of fulfillment. And that's I say that's more of a serving to consume of, hey, I'm like better. Um uh lately we've been having this board game, what's it called? Group with my church group. Um and like I was saying with the whole efficiency thing, I really like that we're like learning new games, and I'm secretly like competitive where I want to beat them and like destroy them. But then I kind of remember like the whole FE thing. And then even Peterson says it. The goal isn't to win the game every single time. The goal is to play the game the longest. And to do that, you have to let people win sometimes. So like secretly, sometimes I'll have a board game, and if someone's been losing a lot, I'll secretly try to be winning, but steering that person in the direction of winning like first,
I
which
see.
which is more of against my main goal of supporting to play the game the longest, like in terms of life of, let's play this game for like the longest time possible together.
Oh,
Supporting the,
okay. So what if you're playing with someone that's lead TI, like an ISTP or INTP, and
oh no,
they're
then they're
really
going down. Like they have no reason to like, they're already trying to meta game hard. But for those who are like really trying to get into it, I think that's the FE serving. Like, hey, they're gonna have a good time. But at the same time, it's like that's my goal of playing the support character, but not in the actual video game role, and like a life role of I'm trying to have other people thrive because I rarely have those opportunities.
One of the things that you said earlier was very interesting when you were telling me about your three factors that you kind of
Mhm.
follow in life. Um, it sounds super energy dom to the max. Like,
Yeah. The play sleep thing. I do think energy dom. I mean, I don't know how you would do it with the sleep less, how you compensate for the sleep less, but I do feel in life um energy dominance is a very important aspect of not burning out, but at the same time, as a savior play, like expending all my energy and then expanding how much energy I can expend, but not burning myself out to the point where I can't function of other areas of life.
yeah, so I want to ask you about that. So they I don't know if you saw the video that they released recently. I don't know if are you still in the class, by the way?
I am not, but I have my wife's account.
Oh, okay. So they made a video recently of this like INTJ social type number one guy.
Okay.
He's like blast, play, consume, sleep, I think, and MF. Um, and he was talking about like starting with his identity when it comes to everything because he was doing that sleep blast looping thing where like your life problem keeps reoccurring because you haven't addressed your what I call it. You
So
haven't addressed.
last INTJ.
Yeah, I mean he's a little bit different in the sense that he has double activated SE at the bottom, so he has less SE issues than
Okay.
the typical INTJ because it's also masculine. So he
Mhm.
has those issues, but it's not like the worst issue as like consume last, for example. Um, and the other thing was that he was really respecting the ST because he had double activated ST play. So um, he pretty much tracked every hour of his life to
Mhm.
see if whatever he was doing was working or not. And working, the definition is like, is he operating as optimal as possible in the sense of is he either A being productive or B being happy? Okay, it's either one of those two, right?
Mhm.
Um, and if it's not either or of those two, and I think there might have been more factors, but those are like the big ones. Then he has to course correct, the next time, and it's like a trial and error also, right? Because like sometimes you don't know um if this is gonna
He's
work
doing
for you.
the ST tracking, but he has that lead NI.
Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah, and then he figured it out, and apparently he's now the master of systems. Like he has complete freedom,
Mhm.
as a sleep loss INTJ, as a result of systematizing everything in his life. But it started with himself, and it started with his identity. Like the
Mhm.
first question he asked himself like was, "Who am I?" you know and when he said that question, it really made me think really a lot. Like yesterday, the whole day yesterday I was thinking about it. Even today I was thinking about it. And I want to ask you about this because we're a little bit different. Okay, I'm getting somewhere here. So he has NF sleep. So when he was defining himself, it's in that NF sleep definition where like he sees himself as I forgot the exact description that he used, but it's like that NF sleep description. you know and we don't have that. We have SI, right? So
I have ST sleep. Yeah.
yeah, you have SE sleep, I have SF sleep, but we both shared an SI. So when he said that, I said, how come I cannot put who am I in like in a sentence? How like the NF sleep. Like Jocko has discipline equals freedom, or
Right.
David Goggins is having a callous mind. Like they have like a sentence to describe themselves, right? But I'm like,
You're right. I've never done that.
yeah, I really, dude, I really tried to put myself in a sense. I'm like, I cannot do it. I can't. But you know what I started doing instead? And it was so messed up. I was like, what? So when I was trying to list my identity, I'm trying to like uh put it together in a sentence. You know what I started
Mhm.
doing? I started putting bullet points, which is SI, right? And and,
Yeah.
and I was like, is this how it works for people with SI? And you have SI
Yes.
too, right? So that's why I wanted to cross check with you. So if someone were to ask you, okay, what's your identity? Like
I
if
would
you
make
were
a
to,
bullet point list of what are the things in my identity box. Yeah.
yeah, so it's SITI, it's a little bit different, but there's still a bullet point happening. Is that correct?
There would be a bullet point format for me to organize my thoughts. 100%.
Okay, so the weird thing is, like, okay, once you have the bullet point, what are you supposed to do with it? It's like, are you supposed to just follow the bullet point, or like, how do you personally
Yes,
do it?
I would say you're like probably like I would say I'm meditating on that bullet point every day. This is who I am. This is the direction I'm going.
Yeah,
For you, it's like blast last. Like if I'm gonna tell people, but be super awkward and uncomfortable with it because I'm also demon TI.
right.
So sharing it would be super demon, but like living it and like embodying it, that's like really embracing it, or the whole identity and sleep, I guess.
So you have sleeps in a demon state still. You have a third,
Yes,
but it's not like the fourth animal, because the fourth animal is like a big dip, right? It's
correct.
like what they showed, right? It's like here, first one, second one, third one, and then the fourth one is like,
Fourth way bottom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not like a gradual thing. It's like a
Mhm.
Grand Canyon. You fall off the Grand Canyon for the last one. But anyways, so you have it in a demon state for your sleep, but then you can still use it. So what's happening there in a demon state, pretty much? Like,
I feel like it's just really moping. I have like the savior consume double activated. So in the end, the SI is serving the NE, which is just expanding and collecting. And then I have to like generalize the step by step and what's the core aspects of who I am. But it's more robotic, I would say, because it's ST. It's like, it's a list.
yeah.
Yeah, you're distracting me. My wife's here. She got home from work. Sorry. You didn't get your official type yet. We can't tell the world that you're an ESFJ. Not official.
So, how does the TI kick in with that list of SI? Like, what's a TI doing with that list? I'm curious.
I guess it's the source of identity and goals and uh like you said, ego of what's your mission, your truth. Um, and I guess it wants to respect it and like really prioritize. I'm double deciding all the time, but I feel like no matter like when I'm with other people, I'm forced to go with the FE vibe or consensus. But I always have like the TI running in the background of, oh, I can win for the tribe and myself by pulling direction of what works for my identity goals and what works for the tribe. And if I'm not in a tribe that reflects that, I can just like look for my actual tribe.
How are you meditating on those bullet points when you have feminine SI? Like how are you?
Well, I mean, they're super generalized. So you've caught me at an interesting time in my life. So I'm supposed to put in my notice for quitting today. I'm gonna do that like after this. So I've been working for 6.5 years in dialysis, and what's it called? Like I said, I expect that I'm gonna be working for the next 35 years in dialysis. Um, Hopefully I can, do investments on the side because you can't get large wealth with just working alone. Point being, for the first time in 6.5 years, I haven't taken time to myself per se. Like I don't usually take PTO. If I take a vacation, it's usually because, oh, my wife wants to do something or my friends want to do something. I'm only doing it because the tribe is pulling me somewhere. I'm not doing it for me or for my own reasons. Um, so and specialize. I'm trying to further my career of where's the farthest I can take it. And I've come to that point where I feel like in the career I'm in, the only way I can further it is travel nursing, which would be like the highest paid and highest form of versatility of my job, where
Yeah.
I can just go anywhere in the country, 3-month contracts, really explore different places. I guess I'm serving my consume and my NE a lot,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I want to like take my career to its farthest. So right now I'm quitting my job, looking for a travel job, but while looking for a travel job, it's my first time in my whole entire life taking time for myself, and I'm really hoping to attack my sleep list. And I have like four simple things on my sleep list, and I guess they kind of serve my FE too, some of them, but the four things are I want to spend some more time with my parents because that's an FE thing, but it's because I'm an only child and what's it called? I want to live life without regrets. And then, lots of people are like, oh, I wish I spent more time with my parents, or my parents are old and then they die and, we're never really there for them. I'm hoping to spend some more time with them. My mom has this whole um, humanitarian thing. She has like this donation program in the Philippines, not really donation program, but I plan on helping her with that, helping around the house because they're old and they have a lot of things they want to fix around in there. So I want to spend some time with my parents before going back into my work mode. During COVID, I just worked constant overtime and I was jealous of everybody else because they're like, oh, they get to reflect on themselves and work on themselves and have forced off time. And I never got that. And I'm like, I want that. Uh, so that was my one thing, spend some time with my parents. My second thing is back in November, you asked me, what's it called, if we could do this interview, right? And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna aim for February. And my main motivation with that was one, I wanted my wife's type to be ready by then, but we kind of, well, procrastinated a little bit, but she has the video type submitted. So I was hoping to reflect on that before coming into this interview. Another one was I was trying to work more on my ST goals, but it's really hard with work. And my main ST goal was fitness and health. I wanted to work out more and eat better. Not that I haven't, but with work, if I pick up one day of overtime or I get on called where I have to go like in the middle of the night or on my uh, day off, it kind of like throws off my workout routine and motivation where I kind of lose my rhythm pace. So right now that I'm submitting my resignation, I'm hoping for the next 3 months I could really ST the hell out of my working out. And my goal is 3, 4 months from now, I get to go to California where a lot of my college friends and cousins are. And I get to be fit, and I don't like saying this out loud, just ego brag. Hey, I'm financially successful. Hey, I'm physically fit. Hey, I'm the best of the best. But I don't like saying that out loud. It feels very uncomfortable. But that is some of my motivation of I'm at this position where I can visit my friends and family that I haven't seen in a long time and be like at the best of myself and say, here I am as a travel nurse, the top of my career, physically fit, top of everything, and you're just flexing. So that was the second goal. My third goal, which I'm really trying to not do as much anymore, is min-max the current video game I'm on. So I'm almost, actually, no, I got quite some ways to go to min-max the characters in the game I'm playing right now. Um, One of my motivations is that my friend like maxed out in this game forever ago. However, I found out it's kind of pointless to strive to min-max to play with them because they're so ahead in the game that they don't need any help at all in any situation. So like, eh. But I guess that's part of the FE of wanting to be the best, but also have some play. And then my fourth goal is to finish reading the Bible straight through. Um, and I feel like that's kind of SI intensive, especially for the Old Testament, where they really talk about silly things like the armies of Israel and the exact numbers and the exact dimensions for the temple and stuff. But the one thing with the Bible was I don't want my I always thought it was important that I finish the Bible straight through. And of course, throughout my life, you've had Bible study and stuff. Um, but it's when the Bible study, you don't go straight through the Bible. And I wanted to come to a point in my life where I could respect the information. So right now I'm on the New Testament. I go through the hard part of the Bible. Um, but what I mean with respecting the information and the consume, if I wanted to within a week, I could breeze right through it, like energy expend, go through it. But I'm trying to respect the information, take it in slowly. Like actually know that I'm consuming and respecting the information. And an important part of that is my whole entire life I've considered myself religious, but how can you say you're not a hypocrite if you haven't like read the thing through and consumed it? I have to make sure what I'm saying is accurately reflecting the SI of the book. And of course, eventually I'll consume all the NF values and hopefully apply that to my life and put that into my sleep checklist that I will meditate on. So those are my 4 goals for the next 3.5 months of unemployment, with the same idea of when I'm unemployed, try to figure out who am I.
Dude, that's really good. Like that was a good blast too, actually. Of it's your sleep world that you're blasting, but
Yes, correct.
it was really
I've
good.
been reflecting on that for months at a time, but I think that is the first time I've really blasted it.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was concise. It was um honest, which I really appreciated, especially the part about you
Yeah,
go to California to just flex. That's really good.
yeah. That is very uncomfortable to say, I guess, because it's my identity too.
Yeah,
And one of the things I wanted to or reflected on is I don't like putting attention on me, and I think that's like the whole savior FE versus TI thing. If it's about me, I tend to deflect or generalize. Like a lot of the EJs do this too, where they have what they want, but instead of saying, "Oh, this is what I want," it's more of a, "Oh, this thing, this observation or thing would be great for everybody," or "This is what people do or people tend to do," but it's really them talking about themselves. I'm very guilty of that, where I try to deflect the focus on myself, but rather on the topic or generalization.
yeah, that's relatable, fellow DE. So I can see what you're
Yeah.
saying. I think I've been practicing being more direct with that though, because I feel like you know what?
Mhm.
It's you're just wasting everyone's time if you're not direct.
It's
Yeah,
true. And I feel like if you want to get deeper relationships, you have to share the FI, you have to share the TI.
exactly. Yeah, 100%. Jordan Peterson also said that your motivation is not logical at all. Like there's no logic to motivation.
It's personal, it's subjective.
Yeah. So like the fact that you're gonna kick ass in the gym just so you can go to California to get
Mhm.
some compliments is
Right.
kind of in a way irrational, but at the same time, it's also what's motivating you to get
Oh,
it done.
I have a further motivation on that. Well, one, if I'm comparing, so one of my type twins, Brandon Ruth, was a Superman, and Superman Returns was that 2006, and he got really ripped for that movie, and he was 28 years old, and I'm 28 years old right now, and I'm sure he had a dietitian and physical trainer. I guess right now we have the internet, like really information filled internet, but I feel like I was competing there. I have to accomplish like prime physical fitness within my 20s, and I'm reaching my deadline. I'm turning like 29 in May.
Yeah.
um of course physical fitness goes beyond that, but I know with work and like the realities of life, having kids, I think I really want to say to myself that I reached masculine discipline and health some point in my life, and have like the SI evidence of, hey, I did it. Or like one day I'll have kids and be like, hey, see this? Uh, you can pursue a prime health too, and you should, and this is the values of it. Um, I feel like health and fitness is, part of my core values and something I want to SF tell people, but you can't do that unless you're there. Or like it's better to not be a hypocrite of what you teach.
Yeah, it's easier to influence people when you live the part instead of telling
Correct.
what you're supposed to do. I just want to say one interesting thing based on what you said. So when I was 28, I was super ripped. Like I went to the
Okay.
gym and I got really fit also, kind of like my motivation was not the same as yours, obviously.
Mm.
For me, I was just trying to get a girlfriend, so I was trying to get ripped.
Right, right, right.
But like obviously work. So
Mhm.
the point is like I'm gonna say one thing is like when you do hit your goal, don't get greedy and like try to get like the next level afterwards, because when
Mm.
that's what I thought, because you have to bulk and cut, right? That's like part of building the muscle.
Yeah,
So I started bulking again, but I never cut after, so I got stuck. I was like, oh geez. So
I get you.
knowing what I know now, I would just tell people it's like if you succeed in like bulking, cutting the whole face,
Hmm.
once you cut, stay there, and if you want to get like more muscle, do it super slow. Like take your time, don't rush it. Just take your time, because
Hmm.
when you have work and stuff and you have relationships, there's no way you can get
Yeah.
ahead in fitness if you you know
Well, I mean, that's part of the thing I reflected on with fitness, at least. Um, so even though if I like max out what I can in 3 months, 3 to 4 months, when I start working again, I have to figure out what's sustainable to my lifestyle and what I can
right,
keep up. So you can have your ideal, but then you have to find your sustainable ideal at the same
right,
time.
right.
And the interesting thing about NE and like SE is it, it's an endless expansion collection. NE is like unlimited possibilities, SE is like experiences, and you can collect resources or whatever. You can do that endlessly. At a certain point, you have to stop and OI organize and just say, this is the goal, this is the limit, this is all I need.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like you've come to that conclusion, which is awesome.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny you're being a travel nurse too, because I work as a recruiter for a travel nurse company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I did it a year ago. I don't do that anymore. But
All
like,
right.
so I know what you're gonna do, so I'm aware. You're doing it in the US though, so you make more money because I did it in Canada, right?
Okay.
Um, so one last question before we wrap up this interview. I wanna there's something I want to cross check with you actually. This is the NF place side of things, so it's
Okay.
gonna be more lighter. Um, I was interviewing an ISFJ
Mhm.
recently, and
Yeah.
she said, so when I was talking to her, I realized what NFP is doing, and and I want to double check with you if you're doing this, because we check Ellen DeGeneres and
Mhm.
other NEFE or FE any people like Ryan Reynolds, for example. So it sounds like what NEFE is doing when they're using plays, they're setting traps for people. So they'll set a trap, it's kind of like a bomb, and then
Mhm.
they'll like the person will like walk into it, and then boom, FE reaction, right? And then it's like
Yeah.
a never-ending trap. Would you say that's like about right for like what NEFE is
Oh,
doing?
100%. I think that's like part of like judging people's limits. And then two, it's like kind of the self-amusement of
Yeah,
this is what the reaction's gonna be. Just throwing people off and um them expanding their comfort zones. And I feel like especially like those play lasts and people who are really boxed, it's really gonna strike them as painful and attacking because it's uncalled for, it's out of their comfort zone. And that's exactly what we want to do is judge people's limits and expand people's limits and give them like, hey, experience more things or process more reactions of something uncalled for.
I feel like the SF play's not doing that. Like they're not setting a trap like the NEFE is.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean
Um,
you have SEFE friends. What do you notice when you're interacting with them? Because there's some similarities, but there's differences too, right?
SEFE friends. I guess
Like
they're
Ian, for example, if you talk to
they're,
Ian.
yeah, they're not too fixated on the underlying like reasonings for things. It's just more of the moment and this is how it is, sort of thing. I think with the NEs, we're getting more amusement of just absorbing what we observe of the situation to a deeper level that people are. It's like, oh, I don't want to call it like under surface level, but we're just playing with our own connections of this is how people are reacting, and people aren't going to take it that seriously. Of I did not expect that uncalled for situation to do anything or even thought to go about it. Where the NEFE, like you said, they're bombs. It's just for the sake of boom. That's just unusual behavior. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, yeah. Although Ellen DeGeneres made Taylor Swift cry with her NF play a lot, quite a bit. So So I guess it can go wrong too. Has it ever gone wrong for you? Where it's like, oh shoot, you know.
I think it helps that the blast last. Whereas, oh yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to say. I would be the most introverted of the NEFEs because usually if they're extroverted, which is more than half, the sleep lasts and the consume lasts. But the blast last would be the most introverted, and I guess I would say more honed in of what's socially appropriate, or like me gauging their reaction in my relationship with them, until like if I'm with a complete stranger, I'm not gonna throw them a huge bomb, but close enough that I get to start gauging the reactions. If I'm what I think is a OE person, I'm usually more comfortable throwing a bomb because they're a little more open-minded, where the OIs are like a little more guarded and in a box of what's appropriate.
I feel like with the OI, it's so easy for them to step on a bomb too. You're like, oh, this is too
Yeah.
easy. Like you almost don't want to do
They're
it.
predictable.
Yeah, it's way too easy. All right, Jacob. We'll wrap up the interview here, and it's cool
But
because we made up for our first interview. It was super short, right?
yeah,
So,
that was my last problems back then, and me not following up more on things I wanted to say and beyond your questions.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I'm really glad that you shared more about yourself, and I think your SIFI or SITI sleep, sorry, is pretty honed in. I like the
Mhm.
bullet point stuff that you're doing too, so I can relate to that, and I can be like, oh my God, it's kind of cool to learn something new about OPS, after all this time, especially
Yeah,
about the NF bomb. That's also interesting. So yeah, thanks for coming out again and sharing more about yourself, and look forward to hearing what your wife's official type is also.
yeah, and she's open to an interview. Hopefully, more layman terms with her.
Yeah, yeah,
That she's
100%.
I do not think she consumed OP well, but I mean, official type and social type of something I think is not in the community would be nice to see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. Let me know when that happens, and we'll set
Yep.
it up.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
See you, Kendra.
Take care, man.
Bye.